Always fringe, always. Bispiece, BB, bispiece. I don't know. The options are endless. It's just a really great gift pattern to have in your back pocket. Plus, you're gonna be really impressed with your knitting skills. And it's a free pattern. Hello, and welcome to the Young Folk Knits podcast. This is all about gift knits. Hello, and welcome to the Young Folk Knits podcast. My name is Casey, and I'm the maker here at Young Folk Knits. If you're a returning viewer, then welcome back. And if you're a new viewer, welcome. This is a podcast where I chat mainly about knitting and also talk a little bit about our small farm here in Arkansas, where my husband, myself, and my children are beekeepers, and we raise a few different animals here in the foothills of the Ozarks. Please consider subscribing. It helps my channel out so much, and it really enables me to continue producing video content. All right, y'all, today I wanted to talk all about gift knits. In my last video about scandalous, unpopular knitting opinions, there were quite a few comments about gift knitting. And so gift knitting has been on my mind. I also just finished a gift knit for my mom, who is my favorite person to gift knit for. Every year on her and my dad's wedding anniversary, I really love to make her at least one knitted item. But sometimes gift knitting can turn into a long, drawn out process that takes the fun out of it. And if you're like me, then before you know it, you're at your deadline and you're scrambling to finish. So I think that there's a few things that can make gift knitting a little bit easier, and I also wanted to share some great patterns that I think are perfect for gift knitting. Sorry if you hear that thunder, it has just blown up a little storm. So, oh yeah, that was a big one. Still going. I have created a bundle on Ravelry with my favorites for gift knits. I've added things from quite a few different categories, and I think it's a pretty good roundup to maybe spark some new ideas for your gift knits. So first of all, I want to talk about a few different things you can knit to keep your friends' necks warm and cozy. So there's definitely cowls. I think cowls are great. I love cowls. I will continue to make cowls, but I wanted to show you a few different variations on neck and shoulder type gifts. All right, first of all is the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. If you're a returning viewer, then you probably know that I have recently knit myself a Sophie scarf. So this is the small version. It comes in 2 different sizes, and I think either one is great for a gift knit, but I think that the smaller size is gonna be especially faster. This is DK weight or fingering held double or fingering and lace held double. I knit mine with 2 strands of a fingering sock yarn held together. So I think this can potentially be a great stash buster to use some things that you have. You could definitely make 2 of these from a fingering weight skein of yarn. And it's not gonna take you weeks and weeks to make. So I love it, it's special, but it's something that can be knit up fairly quickly. It says it calls for 101 to 140 yards, depending on which size you make. So that's definitely a great stash busting idea. Okay, next up on my list is a pattern by Joji Locatelli, and it is the Venezia shawl. So this is a fingering weight shawl, and the thing I love about it is it's a 1 skein project. So if you want to get a little bit fancy, a little bit bigger than the Sophie scarf, you can make this beautiful shawl. It has this lovely lace detailing. It's got some really nice texture throughout the center, but you have maybe a skein that you didn't really know what to do with. This is a perfect project for it, and it's going to be something really special to give to somebody really special. Plus, they're gonna be really impressed with your knitting skills. Okay, the next thing I have is another Petite Knit pattern, but I really wanna use this as a base and then go from there. That is the Terrazzo neck pattern. So the reason I think this is really cool is that if you wanna make somebody a sweater, you're not really sure on sizing, you're not really sure sleeve length, all of that stuff, but you want to make them something a little bit more on the clothing side, I think this is perfect. It looks like a sweater when they're wearing it. It has the neck, it has the front and back, you can wear it under their coat, but it's going to have a lot more leeway on sizing and fit. Plus, I think it's just really cool, and there's a lot of this style coming out right now. Sorry Nordland has 2 different ones that are currently in testing. I don't think either one of them have been released yet, but there's quite a few out there. The thing I love about this one is it's very classic. I think that the cables and the lace on different ones, the zippers, I think that's really cool. And if you want to do that, I think that that would make it really special, but I think that this is classic and simple. It does have the twisted rib, which isn't for everybody, but you could definitely substitute that for 1x1 rib, plain ribbing. And it just has a really polished, neat look that I think would work for most people. So this is a wonderful option. Okay, last on my neck and shoulder style gifts is a free pattern by Pearl Soho, and it is the bandana cowl. So this pattern calls for an Aran weight yarn, and you need 139 yards. The suggested yarn is the Pearl Soho brand Plenty. So I'm actually currently making one in a dusty lavender gray color. And I am planning on making a second one in this shade, which is Reed Gray. I really love it. They've also updated their pattern where you can add monogramming. Also, there's ideas for color blocking, striping. So this is a great free pattern resource. I think that it's unisex. Anybody will love it. It's just a really great gift pattern to have in your back pocket. Okay, next up, I want to chat about a few different toy patterns. So one of my favorite toys that I have ever made is this little fox. It was actually a pattern for a wolf, I think, but I changed the colors and made it into a fox. And also it was supposed to be worked in fingering weight yarn, but I wanted it to be bigger, so I worked it in DK weight Barocco Vintage, and my kids have absolutely loved it. It's so cute. I made a little scarf and I sewed a little skirt. So handmade toys can be so special, something that the receiver of the gift might hold on to forever. If you've never made one, I highly recommend it. So let me share a few different patterns that I love. First up is the Wild Rabbit pattern by Claire Garland. I think this is adorable and beautiful, and it just looks like such a high quality pattern. It's absolutely stunning. And I love that the suggested yarn is drops, so it's gonna be really affordable if you want to go with the yarn. And I mean, who wouldn't love this little rabbit? It's just so cute. Okay, next up is a pattern that I have, and I have gotten the kit for actually, and that is the Frog and Toad pattern. It is absolutely adorable. And this kit comes with everything you need to make both Frog and Toad their clothes, the embroidery for their eyes, absolutely everything. And it's just such great colors. It looks just like the book to me. My children love the book. It's a classic. I mean, wow, what a special gift it would be to give a child the Frog and Toad book collection and then a Frog and Toad that you have knit to go with it. I mean, wow. Last up on the pattern recommendations is Nilla the Unicorn. Now, I think this is just super sweet as a plaything for a child. I would knit this as a horse and not as a unicorn, so I would take the horn off. My children love their horses, they love to ride, and I think something like this would be really special, maybe made in less special yarn, so that it can be something they really get to play with. Okay, next up, I want to talk a little bit about gift knitting socks. So people have a love-hate relationship with socks. I understand, I feel the same. I get so excited about knitting socks, and then once I am in the midst of knitting them, I hate knitting socks. I don't know what the deal is. But they do make great gifts if you know the recipient's foot size. So these are some socks that I just recently finished for my mom. I still need to weave the ends in and block them and wrap them up. This is a pattern by Morgan from Shop Knitting Nelly, and it's the Chantilly lace socks. Absolutely love this pattern. But fingering weight lace socks, cable socks, those can take a minute to make. They might be something that you could knit up quickly, but sock knitting is not for everyone, and not all knitters want to work through a pair of socks in a week. So that's why I recommend some heavier weight socks when gift knitting. A few different patterns I love that are heavier weight are, first of all, the Thanksgiving socks by Summer Lee. And this has some really cool stash busting potential because you marl two fingering weight yarns together and you're gonna end up with a worsted weight. But holding those two yarns double is going to really increase the speed of which you can knit these socks up. Plus, if you have some yarn scraps that you don't really know what to do with, this is a perfect project for that. Another one I love is the High Desert Socks by Lindsay Fowler. This is also two strands of fingering held together, and it shows a little bit different options on striping. And last but not least, one of my absolute favorite sock pattern to gift knit for is the Sunday Socks by Petite Knits. This is an Aran weight sock. It is ribbed, so the ribbing is gonna pull your sock in to really hug the foot of the recipient, and it's going to kind of alleviate a little bit of the fit issues that might come with knitting for someone you're not with. And I mean, Aran weight, it's gonna knit up so fast. I actually have some of these on my needle right now. Highly recommend them. All right, next up, I wanna talk a little bit about some gifts for your hands. That is mittens, fingerless gloves, things like that. When it comes to mittens, I think that you can do a lot with this category. First of all, I want to talk about the Tilda mittens. This is a bulky weight pattern by Anise Sang. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but it's a free pattern and they're absolutely stunning. Cable, but it looks like a simple cable, bulky weight. These are gonna knit up really fast. A new one that was just released by Amy Scher is the Marilla's mittens. Now these are beautiful. They have what looks like cabling, baubles, a beautiful pattern, and they can be convertible where the mittens can fold back to turn them into fingerless mitts. So I really love those. These are knit up in DK. So you probably have a skein of DK laying around that you can use. And I think a great knit for children is the Teeny Tiny Knit Mitts. This is also a free pattern on Ravelry, and they are knit up in Woolen Boon DK. So it's a DK weight. It only takes 35 to 50 yards, that's it. The free pattern goes from a size 0 to 3 months to 6 to 12 months. I think if you wanted to make these bigger, you could go up to a worsted or Aran weight and maybe go up a needle size, and that's going to put you at like the 12-month range. This is a pair of mittens that I made for one of my kiddos, and it is a Melody Hoffman pattern. It has beautiful details on it, and I knit it in Brooklyn Tweed Peri base. Peri, I have to look in, Peri I think. And these have been a hit. Absolutely love them. Okay, next thing I want to show you doesn't really fit into a category except just a sweet gift, maybe for your friend that loves to read and loves books. And that is the Vintage Bookmark #1. I think this is a awesome stash buster. It only calls for 80 yards. So maybe you have a mini skein you're not sure what to do with. I think that you could make a few of these bookmarks and it would be absolutely beautiful. It is a paid for pattern, but if you search in Ravelry or on Etsy for knitting bookmarks, then you can see all kinds of different ideas. This was just one of my favorites. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about hats. I think that when it comes to hats, the classic ribbed hat by Purl Soho is one of those patterns you just cannot go wrong with for anybody. Child, adult, any gender. I think everybody loves it. It's perfect. And it just fits so well. Anything with ribbing just tends to hug in, but it also has a lot of stretch, so it can accommodate a wide range of sizes. I think this pattern is awesome. It's a DK weight. You could hold like fingering and suri held double if you wanted to, or fingering held double, or just a DK strand. I absolutely love this. I've made 2 hats. I've got a third and a fourth. I've got a third on the needles and a fourth caked up ready to be knit out of. So I highly recommend this pattern. But if you really want to make your hat super special, you might try something a little out of the norm, something that they can't just go to the store and buy. And that leads me to berets. So there is a pattern called Bispis, Bispis? I don't know. But this is a pattern by Sari Nordland, and it is a beret. It calls for lace and fingering held double, or a sport weight yarn. And it's just this classic, beautiful beret that I think, depending on what color you knit it in, could become an absolute magic addition to any wardrobe. I love berets. I have previously knit the Kutar beret by Sari Nordland, and it is one of my favorite hats. I think it's so special and beautiful. So if you have a fashion forward friend, they might really love a hand knitted beret in an awesome classic color. Then of course you always have a great stash buster option of the classic cuffed hat, which is a pattern by Purl Soho in a worsted weight. You can use worsted yarn and it's gonna knit up really quickly. You can also stash bust by holding fingering double and marl it, do stripes, do color blocking, palms. The options are endless. So this is just gonna be a wonderful pattern to have in your gift knit arsenal. And it's a free pattern. All right, last up, I wanna talk about a few different home decor gifts that you can give. Always, 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 I love coasters. I love to make them for myself. I love to make them as gifts. Here are some that I actually crocheted this year. And the great thing is that you can get some really budget-friendly cotton yarn to make these in, and they're super special, but they're not breaking the bank. I found some yarn for this from Knit Picks, but I also have some cotton yarn I got from Walmart that's like $1 or $2, and you can make a whole set of coasters with it. So some knitted coaster patterns that I really like are, first of all, the drip coaster. This is a classic one. It's pretty popular because you can marl it with stash yarn that you want to use up. It's not going to take that much yarn, 75 to 100 yards, and the color combos, you can make it really cool. You can make it striped, you can make it color blocked, you can just make it marled all the way through, make it a fade, and I think that the fringe is absolutely perfect. Always fringe, always. Another knitted coaster set that I absolutely love. This is a free Ravelry download, and it is the Decor Mug Rug by Stephanie Rettenmeyer. So it calls for worsted weight yarn, Malabrigo yarn, the Rio space, which I think is almost more of an Aran weight, and you're gonna use US 8 needles. So this is gonna knit up really quick. What I like is that it has a pattern for a set, so a set of 4. You only need 100 yards, so I think that's only 1 skein of yarn, and you can make a whole set of these. And you can't forget your trusty dishcloth. There's so many awesome dishcloth patterns. Purl Soho has a lot of awesome free dishcloths, so I recommend browsing through their patterns. But I definitely love the soft cotton washcloth pattern. It's just a good, simple, quick knit. It's knit up in their sport weight yarn, or I think any cotton or linen yarn would be really great in a dishcloth like that. One pattern that I think is a little bit special, and I really, really like it, is the slip stitch dish towels from Purl Soho as well. It is also a free pattern. They recommend using it in their sport weight linen yarn, but there is also a lot of more budget-friendly yarns available to knit it in. So whether you want to get fancy with some Blackbird linen from Purl Soho, or you want to find some linen maybe from Line Brand or Knit Picks, there's a lot of different options, and I think that this can be a really beautiful and special dish towel. All right, everyone, I hope that you found a few gift knit ideas that you can add to your favorites. And don't forget that if you do use Ravelry, I have created a bundle under my profile that is called Gift Knits, where I have saved all of those, and I will continue to add different gift knit ideas that I like. Before I go, I did want to mention something that I will be talking more about on next week's episode. But in a previous episode, I did chat a little bit about doing a bougie sweatshirt knit along. So I'm super excited. There was a lot of interest in it, and that means that we are all go on the knit along. What I was thinking, and I'd love to get your input, was either November 1st through the end of February, so that's a 4-month window there, for the bougie sweatshirt knit along. So what that means is that you can knit any sweater, any sweatshirt pattern, anything at all that you think would be a cozy staple in your wardrobe. I've got a few different patterns that I am interested in knitting that I will share with y'all on the next episode, but this is gonna be a super relaxed knit along, and basically any sweater at all is accepted. A lot of y'all have shared some really awesome patterns that you are interested in knitting for the knit along. The main thing that I'm still trying to work out is the timing. Should we start November 1st and go through the last day of February so that we've got 4 months there, or should we start after December, like maybe start December 28th and go through the end of March? So I'm still trying to hammer out the details, but I have to hurry. So be sure and comment on this video and let me know what your thoughts are on when we should start the knit along, and I'll try to get a consensus on the timing. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, then please subscribe. Subscribing helps my channel out so very much, and until next week, happy knitting, y'all.